What's up, Blazies? It's Ariel, founder of Blaze Group and your host of Blaze Group Radio. I will be talking about the intersections of Black womanhood, entrepreneurship, news on the culture, and healing as we climb. I launched Blaze Group after spending a decade in corporate America structuring multi-billion-dollar loans for large tech firms, but never once working on a deal team with another Black woman. I left to take world-class knowledge to the streets. Blaze means building leaders and accepting zero excuses, and we go beyond the bare minimum. More than solutions, we create lifelines that help Black women become as limitless as they feel. Snuggle up to this episode. May it feel as safe and nourishing as Big Mama's house did. Fund the things that are going on. First, I want to start with the mindset principle. Right? And that is the difference between expectation and intention. There's a difference between expectation and intention. So many times when entrepreneurs are taught about money and attracting money, right, and making a certain figure in their business, it's done in a posture of expectation, right? If you manifest enough and know that you are worthy of six figures, etc., then you'll attract it. And it doesn't mean that you know what to do with it when it comes in. It doesn't mean that you know how to responsibly allocate it. It does not mean that you know how to make your money work for you, how to make it grow, right? But because I deserve this big check, I'm gonna get it, right? Or because I want and I need this, I'm gonna ask folk to throw money at me. Expectation is when you expect things to be done for you. And the entire focus is what is done for you, what your clients are paying you, right? What folk are giving you, right? What you expect to manifest, right, into your household. That is expectation. Intention, on the other hand, is always about your investment in the ordeal that you're seeking. It's about the direction of your energy towards that thing, right? And so it dictates how you show up in a space and what you give, right? It dictates your posture and your ability, right, to allow time and grace and space, right, for things to take place. It actually involves you being very intentional, right, about shaping the thing. That is intention, not expectation, right? And so as we think about money, as we talk about money today, I want you to lean into this conversation, a very short, cute chat, okay, with a mindset of an intention, right? With the expectation that you're going to have to put skin in the game, around this ordeal. You're going to have to direct actual energy in this, right, to make it so. I'm going to give you 3 tips for being more practical as you fund and lead the financial decision makings in your business. Okay. And the first tip for you is that you should always have a use case for every dollar that you raise. There's nothing scarier than the cousin that comes and says, hey, cuz, I wanna start a business. I just need $500. Period. Okay? We don't know how cousin is using that money. We don't know if they know how they're using that money or where it should go. They just need $500 for a business. Right? We don't really understand the use case. Okay? The streets are looking at you the exact same way when you show up and say you need all of this money, but you cannot articulate the use case for the money. And so think about your problems right now in your business, and I need you to break it down into projects. What is the specific thing that needs to be solved next? Right? I'll give some examples in my own business. When I needed a trademark, as a matter of fact, I applied for 5 at one time. I knew how much each one would cost. Anytime the lawyer came back and said, hey, Casey, we're going to have to do a little massaging of the verbiage, or we're going to have to push back on their pushback, I knew how much that piece would cost. It's always about the next step, the increment, right? And I was able to go to my daddy, okay, when I needed the extra capital, when I didn't have the extra capital freed up to spend, when it was time for other things, and I was able to say, this is what I want to do. This is how much it will cost, and this will be the outcome of this investment. It was always a very quick decision. I gave him all the information he needed up front. He understood exactly where his money was going, right? And he understood the value that it brought my business, right? That is having a use case defined, and you can do that. You should do that as the CEO of your business, right? Another example could be around input costs for a future sale, right? Let's say you're going to a vendor market, right? And like the sign in the background costs a little, right? The tablecloth costs a little something, right? When you want to put your logo there. There is a specific cost. There is a date that you plan to show up. There is an expectation around what you want to sell, right? There's even an understanding of how many times you get to use that input cost, right? It could be many times in the future into perpetuity. Maybe it's one time if you're actually making the candle with the wax, etc., right? But you know how much profit you expect to come on the back end. That is a use case. And so I'll use an example in my business. When I was hosting my first international immersion retreat, right? There were some costs on the front end, right? That needed to be taken care of despite the sales that were going to come in the future, right? And so I went to my brother, right? And when I'm describing these scenarios, this is what you would think about as bootstrap capital with a family and friends raise, right? That's a real tier on the fundraising. It's like a lot about venture capital, which is way down there. That's like giving up 20 to 30% of your equity, right? There's angel investing. I'm not talking about angel investing, right? There's bank loans, there's crowdfunding, right? You see me getting closer and closer, right? What I'm talking about right here is the friends and family raise, right? So rather than saying, hey y'all, I need $100,000, I stepped to my folk with a use case, right? I told my oldest brother, hey, I'm doing this retreat. It is in South Africa. These are the dates. These are the actual costs that I need help paying for upfront, right? This is the expected return I expect on the back end, right? And this is what I plan to do in terms of me and you, what we agree with, right? Very specific. He understood, right? I understood the value of that, the return on investment, the ROI. It was a quick conversation, right? The last example I will give, and this is still tactic number 1, where you have a use case for every dollar that you raise. Okay? In 2021, I knew that I wanted to start this research report called the State of Black Women-Owned Businesses Report. As a matter of fact, it was one of the trademarks that I talked to my pops about very early on around funding the legal process for, right? But I knew I wanted to have this research report called the State of Black Women-Owned Businesses Report, which is now trademarked. successfully. I didn't go to my pops about hiring the fellow, the research fellow, because I break my problems down into projects, right? And I identify I want to fund particular use cases. I actually went to crowdfunding, right? So that was one of the tiers listed in the series, right, of funding options that we can tap into as entrepreneurs. I wanted to crowdfund, right, for this research fellow that I would be able to pay for this research. And I tacked that alongside a grant that I was applying for as well. Some grants I was applying for to fill the gap, right? So I went to the crowdfunding platform. At the same time, I was applying for grants, right? But in both of these instances, I described what the report would be and how I would hire a college student to act as a research fellow, which exposed them to entrepreneurship, exposed them to data on Black women entrepreneurs. There was a certain timeline that they would be paid for this. So you could actually back into the rate that they were getting from this money, right? And we would produce this report on said date. That is a use case, right? And so when I went into the market and raised funds for this, right, everybody that saw this, so family and friends, and then a broader network, right, of people that I worked with in the past, etc., they understood exactly the impact of these funds, right? And that this was only step one. I did not say finances for the next 10 years. Okay. I said I need to launch, honey. That was very clear, right? Successfully raised in this bucket. I actually raised $750 in this bucket from crowdfunding. And I won a grant. Again, I specifically, right, specifically raised for a research project. And so I was able to go an inch wide and a mile deep, baby. On that application, it wasn't talking about all of the things that the money would be spread across. Okay, the Blaze Virtual Summits and the Blaze Business Intensive and the yada. No, it was for this research. It was very specific. It was directly talking about who would be hired, how the data would be used, etc. I won that grant. Okay, it's called the CIS Entrepreneur Grant, and that was $1,000. And so by the end of that year, 2021, I started raising in October. Right, I knew I wanted to launch this effort right at the top of 2022. Right, I had raised a total of $1,750. And what did I do? I was able to hire a research fellow from my alma mater, the University of South Carolina. That research fellow was able to work on building out the survey collection of the data, as I said I was going to do, right? The collection of that data, the analysis of that data, right? And we ultimately published that report in August/September of 2022, as we said we would do. All right, that's how it goes, right? And this research fellow received a $2,000 scholarship to be able to go on to the London School of Economics, okay, that fall. And so I was able to take the $1,750 that I raised, gave the entirety of that to this fellow, and I added in $250, right, which I had time to build over time. And that was the use case for the money that I raised. Okay. I won't be the dead horse, but hopefully that makes sense, right? Be tactical by having a use case. And that is intentionality. What I described is not expectation. Because you love me, I need this money. No. It is directing your energy towards this ordeal, right? And being very specific about what skin you're willing to put in the game, right? In return for what someone else is also going to get. Number two, I have three. Number two is when you hire, this is a big one. When you hire, make sure that you tie the funding term, the amount of time in which you will be receiving a specific type of funding, okay, to the employment term, the span of time that you will keep this person employed. That is so important, okay? Because without that, you're going to have a funding gap where when the money dries up and this person is still looking to be paid, and you're going to be going out there driving Uber and being a barista and renting out your car when you're sleeping, and no knocking all of that, right? to pay this person, not to pay your bills, to pay this person. That's not what we're doing, right? Especially in the beginning stages when you're bootstrapping. And so what I would recommend instead is this. If you are consulting, I'll use an example in my own business. I've consulted companies around the entire globe, okay? And what I do when I decide to subcontract and bring in another consultant to work alongside me on pretty complex deals, right? I make sure that I tie the term of their employment to the term of the consulting contract. I do not tell them that you can go with me in perpetuity. No, 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 no. You can go with me within this term that has stable, steady cash flow that is predictable every single month, right? That is how you tie the term of your funding to the term of your employment, right? The employment of your folk, right, inside of your company. There are plenty of examples of this, right? But beware of having a mismatch, especially a huge mismatch in the term of your incoming cash flow, right, and that outflow, right? You want to try to match these up as closely as possible, and this is why we actually see seasonal employees, right, and a lot of retail companies, right, where it spikes up during the holidays, and they tell these people up front it's going to go down post the holiday season because they know the cash flow will not be there, right? Like it is completely ethical to be very forthcoming and clear about this, right? And the person will know to expect and figure out the situation in the back end, right? I've done this a lot, and I'm actually doubling down on my ability to do this better and better and better as I learn from the data, as I learn from the things that I've done, right? In the past, as it relates to some of these ancillary folk, right? That aren't selling and generating revenue. So my marketing people, my virtual assistant people, etc., right? Which I'm going to get into next. Okay, this operational piece. So tip number one was have a use case for every dollar raised. Tip number two was in hiring, ensure that you tie the funding term to the employment term of your folk, right? And then number three, understand your operational break even. Now, this is very important for the overall well-being, okay, of your psyche, of your emotional being, right, of your spirits, of your physical health, and of course the business. Understand your operational break even. What do you mean by that, Casey? Well, there's some things that don't necessarily generate money for you that cost some dollars every single month. The website, right? What you pay for the domain every single year. Maybe it's your technology, right? Your QuickBooks that you're paying for every month to help you in accounting, so on and so forth, right? So you need to know how much your operational spend is every single month. These recurring things are going to happen every single year, right? Every single month. So that you understand how many sales you need to make to meet that and be okay. Expectation, willy-nilly, licking your finger and feel it in the air to figure out which direction to go. Will have you making up a number out of thin air and you stressing yourself to hit some goal that you can brag about, okay, when you actually arrived 30% of the way ago and you could have got some naps, baby, right? Or you hitting these goals and you still don't understand why your bank account is negative every single month. When you understand your operational expenditure, right? Whatever that number is per month, right? If it's $1,000 per month, you need to know that. If it's $50 per month, because you just get started, right? You need to know that. And then you tie your sales target to that, right? So let's just say your operational spend is $500 per month. $500 actually covers all of the recurring expenses in your business, right? $500. And let's say you sell $10 t-shirts. That's how much you sell. This is just simple math to illustrate this point. If I am making $10 for every single t-shirt, and I know that I need $500 to run the business every single month, right? Then I'm trying to sell 50 t-shirts because 50 t-shirts times $10 each equals $500. And so throughout the month, as the sales are coming in, I know that 50 is the number, right? And if I hit 50 on day 3 of the month, and I have 27 days left in that month, I can chill if I want to. I can slow it down if I want to. I can get a little extra in there because I want to buy a little something extra if I want to. But I have much more control in that dynamic, right? Than I do where it's all disparate and willy-nilly and I have no idea how much I need to make it be okay, right? Let's say your operational spend every single month is $500, right? And you are selling a course for $250 each. And you know that you need to sell 2 courses every single month to hit your operational expense. 2 courses every single month to hit your operational expense. Then that means, y'all guessed it, right? If by day 10 I have sold the second one, it doesn't mean I have to stop, but it definitely means I'm not stressed, right? If the next sale doesn't come in, right? That is how we need to move with, right? That's the energy we need to move with, right? And when we're making decisions around increasing that operational expenditure, whether it's buying another platform or bringing in another person that's not going to make us money, right? It's going to be an expense. So we got to tie that directly to our sales target and make sure that that strategy aligns, right? So if we've increased our sales target because of the increased spend from 2 sales per month to 7 sales per month, then that means there needs to be a change in your behavior. You need to know that number. Your team needs to know that number, and y'all work to hit that. It is peace. It is ease, right? It is clarity. It's precision. I hope that this is helpful. And I thank you for listening. I thank you for being a part of the Blaze Group family. I thank you for being a Blazy and taking your creativity and your passion into the world. I applaud you for bearing the gifts that your ancestors gave, to do new, beautiful things in your communities and your households, right? Transforming your legacies. And we're here for the long haul, right? It's an honor to walk on this journey alongside you. Right, so know that there's space for you. There's space for you in the Blaze Group app where you can track your goals and you can ask questions to be and have us send you market research reports and graph templates of pitch decks and business plans, right? There's space for you inside of the business finance courses that I teach where you can do homework and me and you will talk about it, right? I'll give you direct feedback where I take your funding needs to my network of angel investors and bankers and fintechs, et cetera, and really help you to solve that use case, cash flow need. There's space for you as a listener on this podcast. So thank you so much for showing up for me as I show up for you. Love and light. Until next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to Blaze Group Radio. Remember, you have not yet met all of the people in your life who are going to love you. So keep going. Download the Blaze Group app for day-to-day support on your entrepreneurial journey. Until next time.